This is CTV Newsnet.
Tomorrow's U.S. general election will make history. Either a black man will become president or a woman will become vice president. So to discuss how women will vote in gender politics, we're joined by Bonnie Erbe, the host of To the Contrary, a weekly show that looks at the leading issues from a woman's perspective. It's really good to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be with you, Marci.
So let's start right there and the issues that are important to women as they head to the polls.
Well, the issues that female voters have told pollsters rank numbers 1 and 2 are the economy and healthcare. And you mentioned that we will be making history in the states with either electing an African-American president or a female vice president. Sarah Palin, when she first came on the ticket, swung about gave Senator McCain about a 20-point margin among women. But after women started learning her record on such issues as abortion rights, women's rights, taxes, etc., women in this country tend to vote anywhere from 10 to 20% more liberal than the men do. And so that margin was virtually erased after American women started learning about her politics, which are pretty conservative.
And it's an interesting point that you make, because just because you've got a woman candidate doesn't mean that women are going to vote for that person.
No, exactly. And Palin actually it's been found that Governor Palin is drawing more white males to the Republican ticket, which of course Republicans generally in the states, they win the white male vote. The women's vote generally goes to Democrats, although President Bush in 2000 and 2004 did win white married women's votes, so-called suburban soccer moms, by several percentage points. And that is because that is the richest demographic of all the women voters.
Let's go along those lines just a little bit more. Women working in the home, women working outside the home, and how they vote, because I'm sure that would be different as well.
Well, again, it depends on education, it depends on economic class. But again, white married women, because they're in two-earner couples, because whites generally in the United States earn more than persons of color, that is the richest demographic, and they tend to vote more Republican than other women. But older women, widows, women of color, and single white women tend to vote more Democratic.
Let's look at possible administrations here. In a McCain administration, are we looking at more women in cabinet, less women in cabinet? What do you think?
Well, you know, it's very interesting. President Bush, before President Bush, President Clinton always used to publish statistics about not just his cabinet appointments, which are very publicly known about in terms of percentages of women and persons of color, but also sub-cabinet appointments. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of sub-cabinet appointees, whereas just a handful of cabinet appointees. President Bush stopped that. And even though he's had Condoleezza Rice, for example, a very prominent African-American woman as Secretary of State, his numbers in terms of women and persons of color in the cabinet never came close to parity as they're represented in the population. And we don't know what his numbers were sub-cabinet. Senator McCain, on the other hand, if you look at his Senate staff and his campaign staff, he has a lot of white women in very high places, but he does not have many persons of color. One would expect with an Obama administration that there will be pretty close to parity in terms of half his cabinet might be women, and 30% of his cabinet might be persons of color, as represented in the U.S. population.
Did Obama get a lot of these women by default? And I say this because you talked about Sarah Palin and that women, a lot of them moved away from her after delving into her record and towards Obama. If Hillary Clinton had been a part of this, would have that factored in?
Well, Clinton and her husband, former President Clinton, have been out on the stuff campaigning very hard for Obama. There was a lot of bitterness. You know, this campaign for the Democratic nomination was one of the fiercest we've seen since really the 60s. But after it was all over, Senator Clinton came out very forcefully and has always said, don't vote for McCain just because you're upset that I didn't get the nomination. Come out and vote for Senator Obama because his principles are almost exactly like mine. And that has really worked to swing women over to the Democratic camp. All the polls show Senator Obama, who was not winning certainly the white working class vote and the white women's vote right after he secured the nomination, is now winning by double digits.
Now, yet we've seen there have been a lot of news shows dealing with this morning, these robocalls that are featuring Hillary Clinton, and these are McCain ads against Obama, and they're featuring Hillary Clinton, I guess, during the primaries when she was less than impressed with Obama's qualifications.
Right. Well, there was a lot. I mean, Senator Biden, who's now his vice presidential running mate, said that he was not experienced enough to be president. And McCain being so far behind in the polls, it could still go his way. There's a small chance. It depends on several, as you reported earlier, several swing states that are very important, including my home state of Virginia, which has not gone for a Democratic candidate for president since the 60s, and Missouri, which only once since 1904 has voted against the winner, and Missouri is now a dead heat. So there are several swing states that will decide this election. But Senator, those kinds of ads show how desperate the McCain campaign is to pull this out and try to win.
And we'll be watching all of this, all of the drama, with 24 hours left to go. Ms. Erbe, pleasure to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.